Hi everyone, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to Little Mountain Ranch and welcome back to my kitchen. We just got back in the house from doing all of our morning chores, and the sunrise this morning was so beautiful that I had to grab the camera so that I could show you. We also got our eggs collected this morning because we are going to have French toast for breakfast. We of course collect our eggs every morning, but these eggs are specifically for the French toast. We got the cow milked, and Elvis had his breakfast because of course he always comes as soon as he sees me heading down towards the barn. He comes running for his milk. We got the goats fed and the pigs fed, and then just stood there for a few minutes to enjoy the gorgeous sunrise. Now we're back up at the kitchen, and I have some beef frying on the fry pan here behind us, and this is for pressure canning. I'm going to pressure can up this stew beef, so I'm frying it in a thin layer so it can get nice and brown. You can see over here I've already have a couple of pounds fried, and I'm going to be pressure canning this up today. I'm really enjoying having ready-made ingredients for things like soup and stew. So right now I have canned potatoes, canned corn. Now I'm going to have canned beef. We tried canned carrots last year, and outside of pickled carrots, none of us actually enjoyed just the plain pressure canned carrots. They were, I don't know, just kind of sweet and a bit mushy. So we'd much prefer just to get our carrots from the root cellar and chop them up fresh to add to the soup. But the potatoes and the corn has been awesome, so having also some ready-made beef for the pantry, I'm really looking forward to. But before we get into getting that canned, we are going to get this French toast on to feed my hungry crew. So I'm just going to put probably 12 eggs or so into a bowl here, and I'll add some milk and some vanilla and a little bit of salt and mix that up. And that will be what I soak my bread in for this quick French toast. We are using some stale French bread to make these this French toast, which is kind of, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the traditional way to have French toast. And splash of milk, and then I want to show you what we got canned up yesterday. So for these 12 eggs, I'm adding about 3/4 of a cup of milk and around a teaspoon of vanilla. We have our eggs all mixed up now, and I'm going to put some of this bread in here, just soak for a couple of minutes, and get my fry pan turned on over here. I want this beef nice and brown because I think that the flavor will be better. You can just raw pack beef as well, but I just think this is going to make for a nice dark sauce that I can turn into a gravy or just for adding to the soup. This beef is super duper lean, so I'm adding a little bit of olive oil to my pan as well. And we'll just add one of those to it so that the beef doesn't spittle all over our French toast. This is the last of the beans that I canned up the other day. I ended up with 50 jars from all of those beans that I soaked, so that should do us for a good long while. When I shared about canning the beans the other day, I had some people asking why I wouldn't just store them dry, why I would bother taking the time to can them, and honestly it's just a matter of convenience for me. To spend a couple of days canning 50 jars of beans will just save me time over the winter. I can just go pop one of these jars, throw them right into a chili or a soup, or mash them up and use them for refried beans or anything like that, and I just love the convenience of that. I do still use dry beans as well. I have lots of those stored in my pantry, and I use my Instant Pot for cooking them up sometimes as well. But if I want convenience, or if I've forgotten to soak beans or anything like that, then this is the way that I prefer to do it. So I wanted to show you what we got up to yesterday. Claire and I went on a little bit of a canning kick yesterday evening. So we did some more of the pickled coleslaw, and then some of these absolutely gorgeous pickled beets. Are those not just the most beautiful pickled beets ever? Pickled beets could not be easier. I'll link the recipe that we used for these down in the show notes below. I am just about done canning for the year. I'll probably do a few other things over the winter, but for the most part, I am done. Oh, these smell so good. And normally I would make whipping cream to go in these, but I used up all my cream yesterday to make hot chocolate and hot chocolate topping. So no whipping cream today. Dan is down in the shop right now, just finishing up the platforms that he's building so that we can put things on the ground in the pantry without worrying about any issues if there was flooding, so that they're raised up off the ground. So really looking forward to that project being all done. 6 pounds of stew beef ready. I'll put this over here. Ready for the jars. Dan just came up and said that he has the newest addition added into the pantry. So let's go take a look. It's looking so good in here. Oh my gosh. Look at how beautiful this looks. So this is some more of that reclaimed wood. This is where we're going to be putting all our flour. And then he built them to go all the way along under this shelf as well. And I just came in here and I could smell peppermint. And I said, that was such a good choice for cleaning, because he's just washing the walls in there. So the deal with peppermint is that peppermint is a deterrent for mice. And of course we want to try to do everything we possibly can to keep mice out of the pantry. And so he's just washing everything down with peppermint. It smells really good in there and looks so beautiful. Breakfast has now been had. The kitchen is kind of set back to rights again, and I'm getting ready to can up this beef. But I also just made a rub out of garlic, paprika, salt, and pepper, and some other spices to go onto a leg roast that I'm going to pop in the oven at 250. I'm going to cover it up with tin foil and slow roast it all day long, and we're going to actually use that to make pulled pork sandwiches for tomorrow's dinner. For today, we're going to have chicken enchiladas, and we're going to try out that enchilada sauce that I made the other day and see how that is. So I'm adding a teaspoon of salt, as I usually do when I'm pressure canning, into this beef and my funnel, and I'm going to add in all of the beef just plain, and then I'll be adding boiling water to this, and this is going to be pressure canned for 90 minutes for quart jars at 15 pounds of pressure for my elevation, 11 pounds I think it is for anything under 1,000. Wait till we get our boiling water. I'll top off these jars, that extra piece of meat, plop in there. I'm in a canning mood today, so I wonder what else I could can up. Okay, while I'm waiting for that kettle, I am just going to take off all of my lids, and I had a perfect example of a false seal from keeping your ring on your canning jars the other day, but my camera's battery wasn't charged at the time, so I wasn't able to show you guys. But basically, it looked like it was sealed. When I pushed down on the lid and everything, it was nice and tight. And but when I went to take the ring off and I pulled it off, the lid just popped right off. So if I hadn't taken the ring off, I wouldn't have known that it wasn't sealed properly. So please do take your rings off before you put them in to your pantry. And if you are going to stack your jars like this, just because you have limited space in your pantry or your closet or wherever you're storing your food, put a piece of cardboard, at least a piece of cardboard, even a board is better, in between your jars, and that will help so that there's not issues with, you know, the seal getting messed up just from the weight of your jars. Oh my gosh, these just look so beautiful. We have a mixed variety of beets in here, white beets, golden beets, and red beets, and they just turned out so beautiful. They look like jewels in there. When Dan and I were cleaning the pantry the other day, every so often he'd pull out a jar and be like, honey, what's this? And I'd have to really look at it for a while and kind of move it around to try to jog my memory to see if I could remember what I put in there, because I've been trying this year to be really good at labeling my jars, but obviously I missed a few. Alrighty. Well, it doesn't look like overly attractive or anything, but I think it's gonna taste good. So like I said, we're going to go for 15 pounds of pressure for 90 minutes in the pressure canner. I am in the mood to can today. So I just went through the freezer to see if I had anything that I needed to can, and I do have some cranberries. So I am going to make up some cranberry sauce to throw in jars, because one of my favorite things is turkey sandwiches with stuffing and cranberry sauce. So to be able to just open up a jar, so good, right? From the pantry and spread a little of that Thanksgiving Christmas dinner goodness onto a piece of bread is very exciting to me. Sugar, water, orange juice, cranberries. So we need about 3 cups. This is a little over that. Okay, let's see how many cups I actually have here. Close to 7 cups of cranberries. So this calls for 4, so we'll just double everything. It calls for cinnamon sticks, but we just used the last of our cinnamon sticks in our last batch of carrots. So I'm just gonna add a little shake of cinnamon to that, a pinch of salt, and some vanilla. Four cups of orange juice, water, 4 cups of water. So instead of the 8 cups it's calling for, I'm going to add 4 and try it and see where we're at, because 8 cups feels a little extreme. I mean, this is only a condiment, but still, that's a lot of sugar. Okay, we're gonna have to bear with the sound of the pressure canner back there because it still has 45 minutes left, but I have my jelly ready here to go into these jars, and it smells so good. You gonna come say hi? Come on, come. This is Dan, everybody.
You can't put any of this.
No, I can't. He doesn't edit the videos, I do. I might sneak you in there, Dan. Okay, let's get this all jarred up. I am out of pint jars right now. I only have these little itty bitty half pints left. So that's what I'm going to use. And cranberries have enough pectin in them that you don't need to add any extra pectin. We always make our own cranberry sauce, but it's never occurred to me to can it. Really wash the rims of your jars well when you're doing jelly with all that sugar in there. It's very sticky. What kind of salad are you making?
Just a regular old boring
veggie boring salad. Doesn't that look lovely? I love this steam canner, and I haven't actually brought out my water bath canner since I bought this steam canner. That looks so pretty because you need just a couple of inches of water instead. My water bath canner is a 9-quart canner, so it's humongous, and you use a ton of water, and it takes forever for it to come up the temperature. I don't know if I can fit this many jars in here. Let's try. Aha, I can. Oop, I can't. We are gonna take a pause for lunch and quiet time, and we'll be back with you again around 2 o'clock. See you soon. In the kitchen now, and I just went down to the pantry and got some of the enchilada sauce that I made the other day. I am looking forward to giving that a try. This will be the first time that we have tried it since we canned it. I also got some black beans to add into it. My chicken is all thawed from the freezer. Fry up that chicken. That pork is smelling really good in the oven. What I'm going to do with the pork is just add a homemade barbecue sauce. You can use store-bought barbecue sauce too. A couple of chopped onions, and I like to chop them nice and long and thin. And then some buns. And then we just make pulled pork sandwiches with them. I'm gonna cut my chicken up into some little pieces. Prefer to cut my chicken and my bacon when it's partially frozen. So much easier to cut, but this is completely thawed, so it's a little bit slimy. This is going to be the easiest supper ever. I wonder what I should make to go with it. Some kind of veggie. Corn would probably be good. What do you guys like to make with your enchiladas as a side dish? I honestly haven't made enchiladas very often, maybe only a couple of times before. Usually I'll make bean and burritos, or bean and rice burritos, or chicken fajitas, but enchiladas are delicious. I can't tell you how nice it is to have ready-made sauces in my pantry, like this enchilada sauce, and even just having the canned beans. It's so convenient. I don't know if I've told you guys this before, but I actually don't really like cooking, believe it or not. You've been watching me for weeks cooking in the kitchen, but it's not something that I really love doing. I much prefer to be outside working in the garden or on the farm or renovation projects, things like that, as far as my work goes. But cooking is kind of it's not a necessary evil, but it's just a necessary part of my job. So I've learned to do it reasonably well over the last 30 years of doing it. And I'm also not what I would call the most creative cook in the world, so simpler is better for me. And if I can just go down to my pantry and grab things that are just pre-made, that maybe took a lot of upfront work but make it easier in the long run, I am a happy camper. Okay, there's our chopped up chicken. Now we'll open up our black beans and give them a good rinse. That's what the beans look like. They look perfect and they're not too mushy. Season our chicken with a little bit of salt and pepper. Here's our canned beef, and it looks really good. I'm happy that I fried the meat first, so it has that nice dark brown sauce. And then here we have our jelly that's all gelled up. Looks so good. We ended up with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 half pints of the jelly and 6 of the beef. Now, I really need to find my phone so that I can find that recipe. Okay, so we do need an onion to add to that. We won't be adding green chilies because we don't want the heat. But we do want cheese, which I'll grab out of the freezer. We'll leave that and let that thaw out a little bit. Tortillas there. We need our big pan and an onion. I'll be right back. I'm just gonna run down to the pantry. Rocking my shark goggles again. Apparently it's not just me though, because when I wore these on my last video, many people left comments saying that they do the same thing, or that they're gonna do it now that they've seen me do it, which I just think is awesome. I love it. A couple of people mentioned that if you throw your onions in the freezer for a little bit before you chop them, that they don't burn your eyes as much. So if I can ever remember to throw them in the freezer before I need to chop them, I'll give that a try. Whew, this is a hot onion though, because I can tell just by the smell of it. It's burning my nose. I can only imagine what it would be doing to my eyes. Give those onions a few minutes to soften up. Actually, I'll add my black beans to there. Okay, now let's put in some of this enchilada sauce. And tastes just as good. Oh, yum. So that one is a hit for sure. Just gonna add a little bit of water to it. Looks pretty tasty. Turn that way down and just let that simmer for a few minutes. And let's just make sure I'm not missing any important steps here. I am just going to put a little bit of olive oil in my tray here so that everything doesn't stick too terribly bad. Oh, I forgot to tell you, we got all of the garlic planted yesterday. I was hoping to be able to film it, but I did not have time. It was kind of a bit of a rush to get the garlic in the ground because I'm late and the ground is already starting to freeze. And when you're planting garlic, you want to try to get it in the ground a few weeks before it freezes so it has a chance to start developing a little bit of a root system. And I'm hoping, I just looked at the weather report and it is supposed to be warm, or warmish anyway, for the next week or so. So I'm hoping they'll have enough time. I will take you down to the garden though and show you where the garden beds are at right now and just give you a quick run through of how we planted them. Maybe we'll do that right now while this is simmering here on the stove. Plus, honestly, I could use a little bit of fresh air. It's nice out today. It is 12 degrees, which is, what is it, 55 or so degrees Fahrenheit. Nice and warm. Don't even need a jacket. Oh, sometimes getting outside when I've been inside all day feels so good. Oh my gosh, I've been trying to get a run in each day. I am not a runner, never have been a runner, but I've always wanted to be a runner. So I started slow jogging across the North Meadow. And that really helps, and I haven't done it today. I should probably go do that. Oh, right, we're heading to the garlic. These Chinese asters are still blooming. I love having a splash of color in the garden this time of year. Okay, I just pulled a couple of garlic out here so that I can show you how we actually plant them. So just put a hole in the ground and stick them in. You can stick them as far down as 6 inches, or you can just stick them in so that just the top is poking up. So, and then about 6 inches apart or so, and then plant them, this root part down, pointy part up, cover them up. This is where we had the garlic planted last year, which I usually try to rotate my crops and not plant things in the same spot, but this was the only place I really had available. So then, once they're planted like so, cover them up with a good 6 inches of leaf mulch, and this has been really working well for me over the last couple of years. Sometimes if it's too thick, I need to pull it back a little bit in the spring, but it's worked really, really well for us. Normally I try to get my garden beds all cleaned out really well, and I like to do my compost and my mulch in the fall, but I didn't have time this year. It was just, I don't know why. Okay, back inside. Let's put this dinner together. Looks really yummy. It smells good. One thing to keep in mind if you are going to freeze your cheese, which is what we do, is it's better to let it thaw out completely before you use it in any cooking, because it does get little tiny ice crystals all over the cheese itself. And then if you use it on pizza, it can kind of make it a little bit watery. With pizza is the only thing that I've really noticed that to be a huge issue with, but might be something to keep in mind. Okay, so now put some enchilada sauce on here, some cheddar cheese, roll them up, pop them in our tray. Okay, now I'm going to take my can or my jar of enchilada sauce and spread it all over the top of this. And then cover this with cheese, and then we'll bake it in the oven until it's nice and bubbly. And I think because I have 2 cabbages sitting over there that I brought up yesterday to make the pickled coleslaw, I think I will make some coleslaw, fresh coleslaw to go with this as well. You know what we had for dinner last night? We had beef that was fried up just with salt and pepper, and then I chopped up a whole bunch of cabbage and just put it on top and let it steam. And then we had balsamic, like sweetened, kind of candied balsamic beets with it, and it was the simplest yet most delicious dinner I feel like I've eaten in a long time. It was so good. I feel like enchiladas and coleslaw is kind of a weird combination, but my kids like both, so it'll work just fine, I am sure. For coleslaw, you just need salt, pepper, celery seed, mayonnaise, and a little bit of sugar, and grated carrot and cabbage. It is that simple, and it is so good. I don't have any carrots up at the house, which means I have to go down to the root cellar. Sometimes I bemoan the fact that my root cellar is a little bit away from the main house, but that and all the treks up and down the stairs I take during the day to go to the pantry gives me a fair bit of exercise. I'm trying to get through all my small carrots first because they don't store as well as the big ones. I'll bring enough up to put some in the fridge. These are my little itty bitty carrots. I will not kid you, growing your own food is much more labor intensive than buying it at the grocery store. Sometimes I do have moments where I'm like, wow, it would be so much easier if I just had a clean washed bag of carrots in my fridge because these carrots took all the work to prepare the garden, plant the carrots, harvest the carrots, get them into the root cellar. Now I have to scrub the carrot. And as much as I enjoy the whole process from gardening and growing them to harvesting to storing them in my root cellar and all of that, I still, yeah, sometimes I have my moments where I'm like, wow, this would be a lot easier if I just didn't make all this work for myself. But yeah, I wonder about that sometimes. Maybe there'll be a point in life where I don't do it anymore. It'd be so strange because I've honestly done it my whole life. The first time I ever remember seeing my mom can, I was probably maybe 5 or something like that. So it's been the whole gardening and canning and all of that. It's been a part of my life, my entire life. And my mom, who is in her mid-60s now, still gardens. So most likely I probably will. And I also grabbed a big jar of refrigerator pickles that need to be eaten up to throw in as well. Not into here, but just offered at the table. I'm going to need to go get some more celery seed. And really, the only way to mix a giant vat of coleslaw like this is just to get into it. And if you can make coleslaw a few hours before you're going to serve it, it's better because it just kind of absorbs all those flavors. Okay, what time are we looking at? We're actually just about looking at supper time right now, so I can put this right onto the table. Okay, that looks downright delicious, doesn't it? Smells good too. Chicken enchiladas with that enchilada sauce.
Oh, I do like enchiladas, I remember now.
They have cheese. Anything with cheese, right? Sauce and cheese. All right, everyone, that is it for me today. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.